Welcome to Inside Athletic Training, a podcast from the Professional Baseball Athletic Trainer Society and the ultimate destination for athletic training professionals, students, and educators looking to learn more about sports medicine and athletic training. In each episode, we'll dive headfirst into conversations with experts in the field, bringing you insights, stories, and cutting-edge information about athletic training and sports medicine. This week on Inside Athletic Training, we welcome in Kelly Rhoades, the Assistant Athletic Trainer with the Detroit Tigers. Enjoy the show. All right, Kelly, welcome to Inside Athletic Training. Super excited to have you on for episode 54 of the show. You're currently in your first year as the Assistant Athletic Trainer with the Detroit Tigers. We'll get into all that good stuff about your first spring training and how everything's going down there. But I like to start the show by asking our guests to kind of share a little information about their background. So let the listeners know where you're from, what were you into growing up, maybe sports and things of that nature, and also how you found your passion for athletic training.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to answer some questions today. I'm from the northern Illinois, Wisconsin border, and originally grew up in a really small rural town. A lot of farm area, and I grew up riding horses, and I was primarily a gymnast. So no overhand sports for me. That's always the first question. Did you play softball? And not even little league. So not even when I was really young. But interesting, I guess, how I found my passion for athletic training in general was my gymnastics coach growing up was also an athletic trainer. So she would tape our ankles and, give us rehab things to do on the side. It was a smaller program. We didn't have any sort of athletic trainer or PT working with us. So, I was a gymnast from 4 or 5 years old through 18, and then played volleyball and ran track as well. So, definitely into sports my entire life, but never an overhead athlete. And then baseball kind of came about in college. And I know we'll talk a little bit probably about my my college career, but definitely baseball came later, and absolutely love where I ended up. So.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear how you and all your colleagues across baseball found their way to actually working in baseball. A number of you, like you said, had no interest or didn't know much about it as a kid growing up, and then you find yourself working for the Detroit Tigers, which is absolutely crazy, but really cool. So, like you mentioned, I want to start also, talking a bit about your education, like you mentioned. So, you graduated from Illinois State University in 2014 and got your master's degree in 2016 from A.T. Still University. Share a bit about your educational experience and kind of how that shaped you as an athletic trainer.
Yeah. So like you said, I went to Illinois State University for my undergrad. That's when the athletic training degree was purely an undergraduate degree. You were certified. So I was certified in 2014. I can't say enough good things about that program. Everyone thinks their program was the best, but I absolutely loved it. I still keep in touch with a lot of my professors, and they had a huge impact on me. And even in my decision to move on to a graduate program at A.T. Still University, after I kind of decided that I wanted to pursue baseball, I looked up accredited programs and decided that A.T. Still University was the place for me. Number one, because it was a great program, but also wasn't a bad idea to move from Illinois to Arizona where it was warmer. I was excited to move away from home and also be close to baseball, obviously with that being a huge spring training mecca. So hope to make some connections that way and network my way potentially into a job. And just so happens that worked out. So.
Yeah. And thinking back on that time in school, like you mentioned, is there anything, as students who are in that position now looking to eventually wind up in a role like you have, is there anything that you recommend or wish you would have done differently? Maybe it's more hands-on experience, searching for different internships, or mentorships, anything you might have done differently now that you're looking back from where you are now with the Tigers?
Yeah, I don't know about do differently, but I think the earlier you can gain experience outside of classwork, the better. I know so many programs create incredible clinical opportunities, and those are foundational and necessary. But I think you can learn so much from, a specific internship or something like I did with the Diamondbacks. Kind of branching out on your own and finding those experiences for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The earlier you can gain those experiences outside of what the school sets up for you, I think the better. I think like most professions, the in-school classwork is necessary, but you learn so much from real life experience and asking questions of people who already have had so much trial and error and know kind of how to put the textbook into real life.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think we've heard that from a lot of people in your position is that there's so much of a foundational aspect that is necessary, but ultimately getting your hands on athletes, figuring out what you like, what you don't like is going to be the most important thing. So it's cool to hear you echo that statement as well. And looking back on your younger days, whether that's during your internships or even in college, when you were coming up, was there any specific role model or somebody who kind of showed you the ropes and kind of taught you how athletic training actually works in the field?
Yeah, definitely. I think back to a lot of my professors at Illinois State, namely Kevin Laudner was a huge influence for me. I worked under him and helped with some of his research projects, and he would come out to spring training every year, collect data on the pitchers, and then we would use that data set and create studies based on the throwing athlete. And really, that was my nerdy entrance to baseball, talking more about the shoulder and biomechanics and things like that, and then trying to predict injury risk. So he was a huge influence on me, as well as Justin Stanek, and then Jeff Williams, all professors still at Illinois State. I'm sorry, Jeff is now, I believe, in Indiana somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then Sue Falzone, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention her,
of course,
being the first female head athletic trainer in baseball. I reached out to her once I set my sights on baseball for some advice, and she was incredibly encouraging. Not only just took the time to answer my question, which I wasn't even sure I would get a response, but she was incredible. I've since taken some of her courses and read her book. She gave me some of the best advice that I wasn't expecting, and that's really just to learn the game and infiltrate yourself in the culture and the environment, to learn kind of what it's like. So it wasn't even really skills-based things. It was more, really immerse yourself in that culture and learn the game to a T. I think that has helped me a ton. And then also have to mention Ken Crenshaw. Obviously,
Sure.
I felt like I grew up as an athletic trainer, kind of under his wing, and he was an incredible influence on me, both professionally and personally.
Yeah, and first of all, Sue Falzone, for those that don't know her, I got to know Sue a bit when she was with the Dodgers. Incredible person, extremely active in the athletic training community, speaks and is an author, and just so much knowledge from Sue. So it's cool to hear you kind of got to know her a bit. And obviously we'll get into Ken Crenshaw later, seemingly one of the godfathers of athletic training, especially in Arizona. So, we'll start by talking a bit about that time when you were with the Diamondbacks. So in 2015, you completed an internship with the D-backs, in spring training. So what was that like, jumping into professional sports at such a young age? I'm sure there had to be just so much going on and a lot to take in, but what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, definitely. During my internship with the D-backs, I was also working at Mesa Community College. So a super busy time in my life, but also, one that definitely had a ton of impact on my future career. And I didn't even know it at the time. But I vividly remember my first pair of shoes with my initials on them in D-backs colors. And I thought it was the coolest thing on the planet just to be a part of something like that. Felt super honored to accept an internship that, I'd worked so hard for. And I think the biggest lesson that I needed during that internship was to branch out from what I was taught in school. I think you have this confidence. I was already a certified and licensed athletic trainer at that point. I was working for Mesa Community College. So naively, you kind of feel like you have it all figured out. And what that internship taught me was just that I knew nothing, basically. There was so much more. And to this day, I still feel that way. I think the second you feel like you have it all figured out, you're probably not growing in the right direction. So not only that, but it opened my eyes to a world of knowledge that I didn't even know existed outside of the textbook. And then I think the last thing, it just gave me the confidence that I needed, confirming that this was the right path for me. It was kind of the trial to potentially see myself going down this path for a future career. So.
And when you got to spring training with the D-backs that year, 2015, did you already think you personally had a big interest in, baseball, the shoulder, overhand throwing? Was it something you kind of had a feel you would love and stick with, or were you still in that experimental phase when you got there?
Yeah, I think for me, I have now worked with a lot of interns, and I think a lot of them are still undecided. I was a little bit more set, like that's exactly what I wanted to do. And not only that, but I had met Ken Crenshaw a year prior. So I had networked with him for almost a year prior to my internship. And I kind of set my sights on not only just working in baseball, but trying to work for him specifically, on a team with him, with the people that he was, talking so highly about. And I was just constantly impressed with not only the way he communicated, but a lot of the concepts that he was bringing to the table that I had never heard of, just intriguing concepts that I had never thought existed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And obviously it went very well, seemingly, as you spent I think a total of 9 years with the D-backs organization. And to give listeners a little rundown on the stops you made in minor league baseball, rookie ball in 2016, short season low A 2017, full season low A in Kane County in 2018 and 2019. And then the alternate site in 2020. So definitely made a lot of stops within the organization, probably met so many people who had an impact on your career. It can be such a grind navigating through the minor leagues. I'm sure you reflect on that a lot now that you've made it to the big leagues this year. Talk about those early days in the minor leagues and kind of navigating through that process and I guess what it takes to stay present when, your ultimate goal is probably to get to the big leagues.
Yeah, that thinking back, as I'm entering a new organization, so many people ask you, where were you before and how long were you there? And getting to say that I was with the same organization for 9 years is crazy and pretty surreal to me because it doesn't seem that long. But then I think back to my rookie ball season in 2016, having no idea what I was doing and having so much support around me. I had a manager that would literally throw me in the cage after BP every day. And, the guys would just laugh at me trying to take swings in the cage. Just really good memories all along in the minor leagues. And I think the takeaways for me were to really understand what the players go through. I talk about a lot with the players now at the higher level, being able to relate to them because it is a ladder system for us, just as it is for them to get to the big leagues. So to be able to relate to them and have gone through a lot of the same experiences and long bus rides and, not such nice hotels and peanut butter and jelly for lunch 3 days in a row. And, it's kind of a I guess, a rite of passage, if you will, and you
Yeah.
gain some respect and relatability that way. So that's something that I now think back of and I'm really fond of my experiences. And then takeaways for my career, I would say it really solidified the importance to me of a united voice across disciplines. So I think back to a lot of times with my strength coach. So at the affiliate, there would be one trainer and one strength coach, as we all know. So you got really close with that one strength coach. And I always said I couldn't do my job and definitely couldn't do it well without them. So that's something that now, in the big leagues, there are many more personnel, but that's kind of ingrained in me that, hey, you need to continue to utilize all the people around you and make sure that across disciplines we're connected and being really good teammates and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like the concept you mentioned of, spending your time and your rite of passage to get to the big leagues, just like the players, because obviously working with players who you've come up with, there has to be such a great bond there with the athletic trainer and the player. So it makes sense that, you guys kind of move in tandem up the ladder, like you mentioned. And after your time in 2021, you moved into the assistant medical coordinator role. And then you jumped into the medical coordinator role in 2022 and 2023 with the D-backs. So many of your colleagues across the league who have been in that medical coordinator role seemingly have made a jump upward. And it seems like a very important position that so many people who are leading staffs these days have been in. Is that something you kind of thought you needed to do? And looking back on that now, how important is it to spend time in that medical coordinator role?
Yeah, I think that position specifically has helped me so much already in my role in the major leagues, and I'm only a few months in. But that role as the minor league medical coordinator, not only are you overseeing some of, your teammates and have some responsibility in leadership and development of staff and things like that just broaden your horizons to not only thinking about yourself and your career, but thinking about the team as a whole and what's going to be best for this team to move forward as a group. I think that's super important at the major league level as well. And then I think the biggest takeaway from the medical coordinator role for me was the lessons in communication and being able to clearly and concisely communicate to front office and coaching staff and the rest of your team, sports medicine team. And I think those have really helped me in my current role as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we hear those same sentiments from a lot of people who have jumped from the coordinator role to the big leagues and so forth. So clearly a very important role across all of Major League Baseball. Moving on to kind of what we talked about and some mentors you had, much like when we had your head athletic trainer, Ryan Eubanks, on the show, who is a product of the Arizona Diamondbacks. We can't talk to someone with experience in the Diamondbacks organization without mentioning two guys, Ken Crenshaw and Ryan DePanfilo. Ken leads the staff there, and Ryan, the head athletic trainer, as well. From speaking with so many athletic trainers in your position on this show, it seems like everybody who has spent time in Arizona either, just vaults forward to having an awesome career, but really just finds a way to stay in the game and move up the ladder. So I'm wondering, from your experiences, I know Ken is one of the all-time greats and Ryan is on his way up there. What is it about those guys and just the Diamondbacks organization that makes it so special and seemingly pushes everyone toward bigger things in their career?
Yeah, I'm incredibly lucky to have landed where I landed early on in my career. Like you said, now working under Ryan Eubanks, who, when I was an intern, I believe he was in low A or double A. So he was a few years ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kent Crenshaw, Ryan DePanfilo, those guys, I owe so much of my career. And honestly, the changes to me as a person, personally, in leadership and communication to those two. I can't speak highly enough about everyone at the D-backs there are more than that as well that had an influence on my career and, again, me as a person. And I think that's what really stands out to me, at least, is I think sometimes there's this, oh, this team is a family, but that truly was felt. You were cared for in more than we want you to be a really good athletic trainer. You were cared for in the way of we want you to be the best person you can be. That was just felt my whole career. I think there was a lot of challenges along the way, which I really embraced and I really appreciated. And then also there was a lot of encouragement along the way, which I think you need, in those times of grinding in the minor leagues when you're not sure that you're cut out for it. And there's someone above you just saying, hey, you're going to be a big league athletic trainer one day. Mm-hmm. And, someone who you look up to so much.
Yeah. And one thing that's really interesting now is, like you mentioned, you're working with Ryan Eubanks, who you kind of came up with, who is also from the D-backs organization. And you are heading into your first season as an assistant athletic trainer in Major League Baseball. Huge role with the club. Probably really great to have some familiarity with Ryan. Talk about that relationship and during the interview process and landing the job and now getting underway in spring training, just how comforting that is to kind of be with someone who you've known for a long time and someone you came up, with through the minor leagues.
Yeah, like you said, it definitely is comforting. And I'm incredibly lucky to have someone like Ryan leading our department. I will say I thought it was going to be more comforting because everyone here at the Tigers has been so incredibly welcoming that I already feel like this is a new family. So I guess I expected, to need to rely on Ryan a little bit more to get acquainted and, to get my feet under me. But it's been incredible, the support I've had out the gate, and a lot of really, really good people in this organization. So, happy to have him and always have looked up to him. But I think the team as a whole is really strong, and I'm excited to see what we can do.
Yeah, and you guys have been down in Florida for a while now, getting ready for opening day, just a few weeks away. Wondering from your opinion, this being your first year as a big league athletic trainer at spring training, are there any major differences that you're noticing in your job, your responsibility compared to the past couple of years of spring training when you were not at the big league level?
Yeah, of course. I think you'd be crazy not to say it's much different from the coordinator role. I started joking with my husband that I needed to start some hand gripping exercises so I wasn't so sore. Obviously, a lot more hands-on treatment than I've had in the last couple of years, which is incredible because that's what I'm truly passionate about. Like I said, the coordinator role was incredibly helpful in all of those lessons, have made me a better athletic trainer and a better part of this team. But this is what I really have strived for all along, is the role that I'm in currently and being able to make changes with guys every day. It's been an incredible experience thus far, and excited for the season to start up. More day-to-day stuff that I really enjoy and couldn't be happier.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We had Brad Pearson, who leads the sports medicine staff with the Red Sox on. He's no longer in the day-to-day in the athletic training room, and he said the one thing he notices most is his hands aren't as sore. So he's thankful for that. Yeah. So a lot of people can surely relate to that comment you made there. As we look ahead toward the season, just a few weeks away, I'm sure you've had dreams and thoughts of taking the line on opening day, a dream so many athletic trainers have. What else, I guess, are you most excited about but being in the big leagues for the first year?
Yeah, I think all of it, really. I think there's just so much new. There's so much that I probably don't even know. I was so fortunate with the Diamondbacks to have some experience at the major league level. One of our assistants would stay back on a few trips per year, and I would get to go with the team and fill in. So knowing, kind of the day-to-day and what to expect is really nice. But so much new with a new organization, I think for me, just remembering to slow things down and stay where my feet are, enjoying every day, in a role that I've towards for a really long time. I'm also really just excited about this team. This a great group of guys, great group of players, incredible staff. I'm already really excited. We spend so much time at the field. It's nice to like the people that you're around so often. So
Sure.
I'm in a really lucky position.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an awesome season. I'm sure there's so many cities and ballparks that you'll see for the first time, which would be amazing. So super excited for you there. One other thing I'm really interested to talk to you about is, this month is Women's History Month, and recently that was International Women's Day, just I think last week or so. Looking back on the early days as an athletic trainer, and kind of reflecting on that, can you see a lot of growth for women in the profession, kind of in the past decade you've been in the game?
Yeah, I think that the growth is obvious. I think just in the numbers of women in baseball. I do think part of it, and this might be polarizing, but I do think part of the growth comes from just having a mindset that we belong and that,
Sure.
there can be perceived hurdles that don't necessarily have to be hurdles if you have the right mindset. So coming in, being a really good teammate, and that's only going to perpetuate this momentum that we have going.
And we had Amanda Lee from the Mariners on a while back when we first started the show, and she talked a little bit about kind of the accommodations and how that has changed so much and progressed so much in a good way for women in athletic training. She mentioned locker room space, showers, things like that. Have you noticed on your way up and now in the big leagues that teams are really going out of their way to make sure that women, men, any gender, any person is comfortable in the clubhouse and the athletic training room?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's no secret that the buildings weren't necessarily set up for female staff members.
Sure.
I think I'm super thankful that we're considered when there are rearranging of rooms or renovation conversations come up. In both organizations I've been a part of, I have been approached about renovations and, hey, what would make this easier for you? And if you, had a separate entrance to the training room that doesn't have to walk directly through the clubhouse, would that be helpful? So, again, a lot of supportive people around the league that are starting to think about those things and how to make it a little more inclusive for us. And I'm very thankful for that. I remember in the minor league stadiums, obviously being some of the worst for females, trying to maintain professionalism and not always walk through the clubhouse when not necessary. I would go up on the concourse and, have to zigzag through crowds to use the restroom. So little things like that I'm hoping eventually aren't an issue for females down the road.
And thinking about down the road and, probably some young girls out there who may or may not be listening or might hear the show eventually, what kind of advice, as someone who's kind of made it to the mountaintop, you're a big league athletic trainer, one of the first female athletic trainers in Major League Baseball still to this day. What advice would you have for younger girls and women in athletic training who kind of want to reach the same point as you one day?
Yeah. First of all, I don't know about a mountaintop. I definitely don't think about myself that way, but I'm, again, definitely really grateful for all the people that have helped me and get to the position that I am now. I'll reiterate, I think a lot of it is a mindset. I think if you think the environment is not built for you, then it won't be. And if you think you belong, you will. My goal really has never been to stand out. My purpose has never been to be the first female doing this or doing that. It's really been to immerse myself in the game that we all love and to be a good teammate. I think we have so many people in the game supporting us that giving back to them by being a really good teammate only, again, will propel us forward. I think if you come in with the mindset that you want to stand out and you want to be the first female to do this and that. In my opinion, I think that takes away from the team ability and just the ability to fit into the environment and really soak up everything baseball has to offer.
Yeah, that's very well said. And from people like Sue Falsone and yourself, you're setting a great example for future women in athletic training. So it's always awesome to see. Well, Kelly, appreciate all the information you shared today. To wrap up today's episode, we're going to finish with a quick Q&A segment that we call Extra Bases. So I'm going to ask you 4 quick questions and kind of let you share some insight into some of your favorite things about athletic training. But a little twist for you as you enter your first year at the Major League Baseball level, I kind of want to talk about some things you're most excited about. So we will kick it off at first base. Are there any athletic training rooms in the big leagues that you're most excited to work in this coming year?
Well, I haven't seen many of them, so is it cliche to say our own?
Yeah, of course.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited to work. Yeah, excited to get to Detroit and work in our own with our team. Like I said, I'm really excited about our sports medicine performance team. I think it's going to be a really good environment, really fun and progressive, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's going to be a great place to call home with so many awesome people there. Moving on to second base. So you guys have such a cool vantage point. You get to watch games from the dugout. Now big league games for you, going to be really cool experience. What big league stadium are you most excited to watch a game from the dugout this year?
Oh, yeah. The first that comes to mind is Wrigley, Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously from the Illinois-Wisconsin border, so a lot of history there. That would have been my team growing up. And I actually have been in the dugout already at Wrigley, but it will be a different, surreal experience knowing that I'm actually, on the team covering the game. That'll be really cool. So,
yeah.
The second one, if I can pick 2, would be to go back to Arizona. Again, spent so many games in that dugout as a minor league athletic trainer, just dreaming about being in the position I am now. So it'll be cool to be back in Arizona.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And I know, Arizona's a great spot, but it's tough to beat the historic feeling of Wrigley. So I'm sure you'll love that. Moving on to third base, outside of the game, you guys do so much traveling and you see so many cool cities. Is there a certain city or location you're most excited to visit on the road this year?
I don't have one specifically, but I'm just excited to start. I think everybody keeps a list of, getting all 30. So I'm excited to start my list and start checking them off, obviously hoping to be in the game long enough to check off all 30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been to most of them, and they're as long as they don't start making new ones, you'll eventually get to all of them, I'm sure. So,
right.
Moving on to home plate, the last question for today. So opening day is approaching pretty quickly here. I'm sure you may have already had a couple welcome to the big leagues moment, but is there anything you're anticipating that is really going to hit you and make you feel like, hey, I made it, I'm in the big leagues now?
Not one specific moment. I'm anticipating, again, just trying to stay where my feet are. But opening day will definitely be surreal. We're opening against the White Sox in Chicago. So I think I have, as of now, probably 12 people come into the first game. So it's pretty silly that I'm going to have a full fan section for an athletic trainer, but it is really cool, and a lot of support from my family, and my husband will be there. So really excited about that. Feel really supported, and that'll probably be a really cool moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure it'll be great to be near home and have so much family there. And you probably won't be the first athletic trainer to have a big fan club. I'm sure that's happened plenty of times. So, well, Kelly, I appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Always appreciate you and your staff's dedication to PBATs and the profession of athletic training. And we wish you, Ryan, and the rest of the bunch nothing but the best of luck as the season approaches.
Thank you so much. Thanks for putting it on, and really happy to have shared, hopefully, something interesting, something productive, and thanks for everything that you do for PBAT.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Inside Athletic Training. We hope you've gained valuable insights, inspiration, and knowledge to fuel your athletic training journey. If you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite platform. And also, stay connected with us on pbats.com for more news about athletic training and sports medicine.